I have no idea how I missed Carson Rakoff as also being named to the Team Canada invite for the 2025 World Juniors. So thank you to those in the comments section who pointed that out. I wasn't trying to miss Rakoff on purpose. I guess when I was going through the list, I read Porter Martone, Brampton Steelheads, but I guess I didn't clue in about Carson Rakoff as well. So sorry for Carson Rakoff. I didn't mention your name there, but putting it here on the channel now. So now that we're past that, let's talk about the Brampton Steelheads because it looks like this team might be turning things around. They're right now riding a 4-game winning streak as they've gotten off to a bit of a slump. They started the season red hot and then started to suffer some losses and injuries and suspensions. But right now, maybe this team has turned a curve. The only thing I have that's a bit of a concern right now is that their penalty kill unit is operating at 71.7%, which is not good enough if you're going to be a contender in the Ontario Hockey League. That's actually 19th best in the OHL. The only team with the worst penalty kill is the Ottawa 67s right now. So the Steelheads, they're winning. They're gaining some momentum, and I think they're getting some depth scoring, which is going a long way. And we'll see if they can continue this, obviously, with Martone and Rakoff going to the World Juniors training camp. And if they do make Team Canada, then they're going to be missing some key players, along with Jack Ivankovic, another player that won't be on the roster for a bit. And that's where the World Juniors can be a little tricky for teams in the Ontario Hockey League or the Canadian Hockey League in general, because it's top talent going off to this tournament to represent their country, leaving the team trusting some depth or trying out some new line combinations. So let's dive in the Brampton Steelheads, because I do think this is a Steelheads team that will be a force come playoff time. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're challenging for top spot in the Central Division near the end of the regular season. Of course, the very Colts hold on to that top spot right now. The Colts coming into this week's action, 34 points, the record of 17-8, while Brampton 13-10-1 is their record with 27 points. So there's a bit of a gap right now between Barrie and Brampton, with Sudbury and Niagara in between. But we haven't even reached the halfway part of the regular season, so don't count out Brampton. So right now in their winning streak, it started on November 22nd. That was a shootout victory at home against the Niagara Ice Dogs. That was a 4-3 win. Then they crushed the Sioux Greyhounds by a score of 8-5. Then on the 29th, so last Friday, they started a road trip with a win in Sarnia. 3-2 was the score. And then they won 5-3 in Brampton, which saw Porter Martone get the Gordie Howe hat trick, a goal, an assist, and also a fight. And he dropped the gloves with Michael Misa, who also earned himself a Gordie Howe hat trick. So that was quite the eventful game between Brampton and Saginaw over the weekend. And that's where we stand right now with that 4-game winning streak. And when you look at the points, let's break it down for this 4-game winning streak. Porter Martone is leading the way in points, 2 goals, 7 assists. Then you have Luke Misa, 2 goals, 6 assists. And after that, Carson Rakoff, 6 goals, 1 assist. Jakob Fibiger, he's had a great run, 6 assists over this 4-game winning streak. Kieran Witkowski, 3 goals over this 4-game winning streak. Gabriel Sherratt, 2 goals and an assist. Adam Ziglicki, a goal and 2 assists. We have Reed G with 3 assists over this 4-game winning streak. Mason Zabeski, a goal and an assist. Jack Van Volsen and Parker Von Richter both have 2 assists over this 4-game winning streak. So you see there that it's not just one player in particular who's dominating the score sheet. You do have some balanced scoring. You've got Martone getting the assists. Rakoff, he's got the 6 goals. He scored over 50 goals last season with the Kitchener Rangers, and that's why Brampton brought him over in the offseason from Kitchener. Now, if you'll notice, no Angus McDonnell. That's because he's been out of the lineup since October 25th, and that was against the Barrie Colts at the CAA Centre. So the Steelheads missing one of their key pieces from that top line, because that's what really got their season started. That line of McDonnell, Rakoff, and Martone, the best top line in hockey when the season got underway back in September. But now they've been without McDonnell for over a month. Still no update as to when we can expect him back in the lineup, but still a key piece as to why Brampton has kind of fallen off in the Eastern Conference standings. And this is a team that I do expect will be big buyers at the OHL trade deadline, which is just over a month away. It's going to be January 10th is the OHL trade deadline. And for the Steelheads, they have 5 second-round picks in over the next 2 years, so in 2025 and 2026. So if you look at their draft cupboard, it's impressive. For 2025, let's break it down there. They have their own second, Barrie's second, and Windsor's second round pick. They have Ottawa's third, Brantford's fourth, and then Saginaw and Sarnia's fifth round pick. Then you go to 2026. They have London and Brantford's second round pick, London and Ottawa's third round pick, nothing in the fourth round, and their own fifth round pick. So they have a lot of draft capital here to use to bring in other talents. And I'm sure for James Richmond, he's going to be assessing the league, assessing this team, and looking to add some depth to this lineup. And there's some pieces in the OHL that might be up for grabs. So time will tell. I think for Brampton, we're now seeing them with this winning streak. I think it could continue as they host the Guelph Storm tomorrow. That's for their school day game at the CAA Center. And then these are the games they have left between now and the Christmas break. So Wednesday, they're against Guelph. Friday, they're in Niagara. They host Erie on Sunday. They're home to Brantford on the 11th. Then they go to Sudbury, Oshawa, and Brantford to wrap up the schedule before the Christmas break. So yes, there's some very tough opponents coming up. But if this team can gain some momentum, the Guelph Storm, of course, bottom of the Western Conference standings. Niagara's had their struggles of late. But then Erie, Brantford, Sudbury, Oshawa, some pretty big tests there. And I think that's where we will really see what the Steelheads team is capable of. Even if they don't have Rakoff, Mark Toner, Ivan Kovic in the lineup, we'll see what they're capable of. But don't count out the Steelheads. It is, I just wanted to bring some attention to what this team has been capable of late, because Luke Misa and Fibiger are the two players that really stand out to me on this winning streak as contributing offensively. And that's kind of what they're missing to start in the first quarter of the regular season. It was always Martone, Rakoff, McDonnell getting the points, but now we're seeing Witkowski with a hat trick. We're seeing Fibiger with 6 assists, Misa with 8 points. So I think things are looking all right with Brampton and expect them to make some moves between now and the OHL trade deadline. Some other news to talk about today, the Oshawa Generals making a significant signing announcement. They've signed defenseman Simon Wang. He's been playing for the King Rebellion in the OJHL. And I was talking to somebody recently who is telling me to keep an eye out on the Oshawa Generals as they're pursuing Wang, because he's a big defenseman, 6'6". And he's also been getting on the radar for the National Hockey League. He actually got a B rating on NHL Central Scouting's preliminary players to watch list, which is pretty big for someone playing in Tier 2. So now he'll be able to show his skills with the Oshawa Generals. He's played in 29 games so far with King, 17 points, 3 goals, 14 assists. So he's a pretty solid blue liner, and we'll see how that translates to the junior hockey circuit. So a big signing here for Oshawa going forward. Another news item, it's kind of a continuation from yesterday. I provided the update about Peterborough and how they were talking about a naming rights agreement. Well, that was shot down at City Council last night. Mayor Jeff Leal coming out and saying that the arena was built as a memorial for our veterans, and he doesn't want to see a business name put on the front. So if anyone, I know there's a few people that ruffled their feathers seeing that the naming rights was being discussed. It was an unknown business that approached the city about purchasing a 10-year agreement. Now, this would have brought in up to $1.5 million would have been the deal from what they were saying at the general committee last night. But the city council, there's one councillor who voted in favor and the rest said no. So this is going to go nowhere. So good news if you don't want to see a corporate name on the PMC, but still, I think the Peterborough Petes are due for a new rink. And Jeff Leal has touched on that within the last few weeks, talking about how he would like to see that move into a position where they're ready to move it forward by the end of this term in 2026. Now, the final news item to talk about, the Belleville Senators. Ryan Kennedy from the Hockey News first reported on it, and I know in the OHL podcast with Mike Farwell, they talked about it as well. So I wanted to mention it here, just so you're aware that it's starting to become a little louder in regards to the OHL possibly returning to the city of Belleville. And I mentioned in a video recently how the city of Hamilton is expected to have an announcement in January about a team moving into the First Ontario Centre. And it sounds like it'll be an American Hockey League team. And I kind of wondered if it could be the Belleville Senators relocating to Hamilton because of Michael Anlauer's connection to the city. And now that we got Ryan Kennedy also talking about it, it seems as though where there's smoke, there's fire. So keep an eye on this situation. Of course, the First Ontario Centre undergoing renovations. The Belleville Senators, they have an arena lease for another 2 years, I believe. So maybe that will match the OHL's expansion plans where They want to be aggressive. We've heard about the two teams of the USHL, Muskegon and Youngstown, but I'm wondering about Burlington and Belleville as two Ontario-based cities that could become expansion locations. I would love to see Cornwall. Don't get me wrong. I think Cornwall would also be a great location. But right now, I think the league is favoring those two cities because Burlington, they're going to build a brand new arena over the next 5 years. That's the plan. And for the arena in Belleville, which used to be known as the Yardman, it was renovated to house the American Hockey League. So they've done a lot of great work upgrading the arena in Belleville, and maybe the OHL will be moving in. Maybe we'll get the Bulls back. Belleville, when they were in the OHL, their black jerseys with the bull on the front was my favorite jersey. And I have a jersey of that here in my collection, and I would love to see that uniform back in the Ontario Hockey League. So those are the news items for today. Wanted to touch on Brampton and their play of late and these news items. Let me know in the comments section below your thoughts on any of these news items. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Talk to you soon.